What's good, War Room Nation? This is Jimmy. Welcome to the War Room Sports YouTube channel. I just want to talk to you about episode 200 of the War Room. This is a monumental episode for us. I just want to say thank you to everybody who supports the podcast. Again, we started putting it up on our YouTube channel recently, but we have a lot of people who follow and support everything we do, and we are, in fact, the best Marshall Falcon sports show on the internet. So I just want to say thanks to everybody who ever downloaded our app, who's been to our YouTube channel, Google Plus, Twitter, our Facebook community. We're continuing to grow. We launched WRSPN.com. That's right, War Room Sports Podcast Network. Where not only do we have our podcast, but we have a gang of other podcasts. Soccer podcasts out of Canada. We have a hip hop podcast. We have all kinds of things on the network. A lot of great shows. Shout out to the Broad Street Line. Shout out to the Hoop Girls Radio, Sports Trap Radio. After further review, all the great shows on our podcast network. So be sure to check that out. WRSPN.com. You can look out for WRSPN, the entire network, coming to iTunes very soon. As of right now, the War Room is on iTunes. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, give us 5 stars. Come on, our podcast is that work. But anyway, just want to say thank you. In this episode, we talk about the NFL draft. This was before the draft actually happened, so you can hear some of our crack analysis on the draft. We talk about Steve Francis acting a fool in the club. We talked about what was going on in the NBA playoffs and much, much more. Again, I just want to say thank you to everybody. I mean, we're continuing to grow. We're making all kinds of major moves, so be on the lookout for a lot of other media outlets being tackled by, the War Room Sports team. Again, we appreciate everything, and this is episode 200 of the War Room, our flagship podcast. Peace.
Blog Talk Radio.
Time to get it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the War Room. We got Dev, Chill, Jimmy, PJ, and B. Austin, the Hot Block Commander. Give it to you how you want it in the 1 or 2 hour show to keep the brain running with the premise to talk sports on a national level. Bold with them topics, sorta like some rebels. When it's game time, they like the Fab Five during prime time. Sports conglomerates speak their minds a little bit. From sports medicine to sports veterans and greats. The 4th to 26th, or the war in Kuwait. It's the War Room with 5 nights at the round table. 5 Philly guys diversified and educated. What up, War Room family? You are once again live in the War Room, brought to you by War Room Sports for the 200th time. I'm Devin McMillan, and I'm joined at the round table as usual by my brother Jimmy the Blueprint Williams. What up, Jim?
What's good, King?
No doubt. 200 on deck. This has been a very, very tough week for us as we lost one of our brothers earlier in the week, RIP to the homie Marvin Wells, man. But we're going to power through this very, very bittersweet episode. The NBA playoffs are still very intriguing, and the NFL draft commences directly after we get off the air. So before we discuss all that, we got a lot of other hot topics to discuss. So make sure you join us right now in the JW Philly Realty chat room at blogtalkradio.com/The War Room, or join us on Facebook or Twitter at War Room Sports so you can join in the conversations. You can also call us directly when we open up the Digital Extreme Tech hotline at 323-410-0012. But make sure, everybody, make sure you do yourself a favor during the week, every week, and visit WRSPN.com or our main site at warroomsports.com and listen to some of the best talk radio the internet has to offer: sports, lifestyle, culture, entertainment, and more. The War Room Sports Podcast Network has it all. You can hear shows such as The Broad Street Line with Roy Burton and Chris Domingo, Sports Trap Radio with Brandon Pemberton, After Further Review with the Mayor, and so much more. So make sure you get over to the network and check them all out. In addition, don't forget to catch us in syndications on Sundays and Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on fatsradio.com. Jim, what's up, man? How you holding up, bro?
Man, it's definitely been a rough week, man. But rest in power to my homie Marv, man. You know what I mean? But gotta keep it moving, good brother. But this has definitely been a tough week for all of us.
Yeah, definitely gotta keep it moving. The homie wouldn't want it no other way, so that's what we gotta do.
So, this is our 200th episode, man. Besides the tough stuff that we're going through, man, how's it feel to have been doing this for 200 episodes, man? That's a lot of episodes.
Yo, man.
People have been listening
It's
to us
amazing,
for that long.
man.
It's a lot of talking.
It's definitely amazing because I'm a fan of the podcast genre, and there's not too many people that make it to have 200 episodes, man. That's an accomplishment in itself. We haven't missed a Thursday in years, and some people know, but some people don't know the kind of commitment it takes to, put in the kind of work that we do, because not only do we do the podcast, but we have, a web presence that's crazy. We do videos. We have our own network with other shows, so we put in a lot of work, man. So it's a mobile app, man, we do it all. But at the end of the day, man, 200 episodes is a major accomplishment. I'm looking forward to 200 more. Have a chance to express yourself and talk about all kinds of topics and all kinds of issues. It's an amazing feeling, man. So I'm just excited.
Yeah, it definitely is, because I can tell you firsthand, after 3 years of doing this, and all the stuff that we do, I still got family members who think I just jump on the radio and just talk every week. No preparation, no other stuff. The company doesn't matter. It's just we get on the radio and talk every week. But it's a lot more to that. So let's do what we do and show everybody why it's a lot more than that. And we're going to let you guys know what happened this week while you guys were on the grind. And On the Grind, as usual, is brought to you by DirecTV. If you like a better TV experience than cable has to offer, including the NFL Sunday Ticket, which you're going to need. The draft is tonight, and, the season's going to be here before you know it, so you better go out there and get that. But you can go to our website, warroomsports.com, click on the DirecTV logo, and order yourself a better TV experience at a discounted War Room Sports sign-up rate. So if you call yourself a sports fan, especially a fan of the NFL, you got to have DirecTV. All right. Over the past few weeks, we talked about Donald Sterling and his situation, ad nauseum. You know what I'm saying? But the NBA has decided to start a marketing campaign with T-shirts that say "We Are One" on it. And you can get this T-shirt with the NBA logo on it, or you can get this T-shirt with the Clippers logo on it. And it's an Adidas product that's selling for $19.95 on the league's website. It says the men's shirt costs $23.95 and the women's joint retails for $29.95. I guess that's in the store. So what do you think about that? Do you think that's something cool to do, or do you think the NFL is the NBA is trying to profit off of a negative situation?
I find it comical. It's not shocking at all. That's the world we live. It's capitalism, man. They'll find a way to, make money off of any and everything.
Right.
I would like to see. The thing is this, though. Where do the proceeds go? Is this just like a product to make money, or do they have a plan?
I'm sorry.
I
left that part out. The proceeds are supposed to go to a charity. Keep telling me what you think, and I'll let you know what the charity is.
Well, here's the thing, though, because first off, on a whole nother level, I hate when people always say, not you personally, but when people say that when they market a product, proceeds go to charity, but they never tell you what charity it is.
Yeah,
it could be
I found it, though.
The charity, the Adam Silver charity. What is it?
Well, this one does say it will go toward anti-discrimination and tolerance organizations. Which will also be the beneficiaries. Listen, which will also be the beneficiaries of Sterling's fine money. So just like you said, they didn't specify any charity. So I'm not really feeling this too much unless they can show and prove that this money really is going somewhere. Because other than that, it just looks like what you just said, capitalism.
Yeah,
and,
man.
I'm all for capitalism. I'm all for capitalism, but be real. Be real with it.
Exactly. That's all I'm saying. Be upfront and honest about what it is you're doing. Not saying they're not being honest, but I see this often. I see people send me things often trying to request money or raise capital, and they always say, proceeds from this will go to a charity. And I'm like, what charity? And then they try to give you something general, like anti-discrimination charities. What is that?
Name one. Name one.
Yeah, like...
The NAACP?
Give me something.
FOH.
Give me something, man. Yeah,
but
man.
they actually had to...
Du Bois, right? But the NAACP, man, we already know. Make sure they don't give it to the chapter in L.A. How about that?
They're gonna give it right back to Sterling in the trophy form. But they also had to sign an agreement with because there's a clothing company out here in D.C. called We Are One, but they spell it the R. It's just the letter R. But they had a trademark on the whole phrase, no matter how it's spelled. So, and that's owned by some former NBA players, Sam Cassell, Steve Francis, Nick Van Exel. You know, they're all partners in the company. So the NBA actually had to sign. I did say Steve Francis, man. We're about to talk about him in a minute. Yeah, Champagne Shower is one of the owners, and so they had to sign an agreement with them to be able to use the trademark. So that shows you right there that all the money isn't going to charity, because I'll be damned if, you know, those guys are going to have something trademarked and they're not going to get paid off of it. So I don't know. It's kind of fishy to me, you know. Not really knowing. No doubt, not really knowing where the NBA is really going with this. But you know, if it's on the up and up, then so be it, and I salute them for it. But it sounds
fishy.
Yo, it's like when they had the Occupy Wall Street movement, and your man Jay-Z came out with T-shirts, Occupy All Streets. And some people got mad. I'm like, it's capitalism. That's what we do, though. You know, we find a way to make money off any and everything, man. It's America, man.
He made a killing too.
Yeah,
he definitely
it's
made
America,
a killing.
man. That's what we do.
That's Jay, though. He can make a shirt with a piece of feces smoking on the front of that joint, and
he's gonna make one now. Bring the hashtag Bring Back Our Girl shirt and sell them Johns for $19.95 and say the proceeds are going to a charity.
All right, man. Since we just brought up Steve Francis, man, let's talk about Steve Francis for a minute, man, because there was a video. There's a video circulating on the internet. Where did it originate? Was it like Media Takeout or World Star or one of those type?
It was everywhere. I have no clue where it started from, but I think we could always give credit to World Star because that's one of the first places to always have the ratchetness.
Okay, so if you guys hadn't seen this video yet, Steve Francis is in a club by himself like he is on all the other videos that you see him in recently. I don't know why Steve Francis doesn't have any friends anymore. Actually, I do. But he's in the club by himself. Beyonce's Drunk in Love comes on. Steve Francis starts singing the song really dramatically, and he starts pouring champagne all over his head and into his mouth, like holding the bottle up in the air, giving himself a champagne shower like he just won the championship, and he was crying.
He looks to be crying. The song made him very emotional, man. Like, at times you forget that, you know, Steve used to be nice, man. Like, I mean, you know, my question when I saw that was like, yo,
what happened to that boy? What happened to that boy? What happened to that boy?
Yo, because it's funny. I was watching Lillard, right? And Lillard was talking after he had his last series against the Rockets, and he was talking about his idols coming up. And he said AI and Steve Francis. And I saw some people say, how are you going to mention AI and Steve? People forget how good Steve Francis was for a short period of time.
Yeah, franchise was good.
But he, like, seemed to have lost his mind. Every time you see him in something drawn, they try to blame it on his disease. Like, his disease could be the reason why he looks the way he looks, why he looks like the Crypt Keeper. But that behavior has nothing to do with that disease. Like, yo, he was in the middle of the club crying. Like, yo, Drunk in Love? What about that song gets you that emotional? It wasn't like he was listening to what's going on. He's listening to Drunk in It, and he's crying, and he's pouring champagne on his own head, and people are staring at him. The person taking the film is laughing. I'm like, yo, the only thing I can say is this, yo. You should be ashamed of yourself, the way you carry yourself. He got to be a nominee.
Yeah.
Got to be, man. What do you think about it?
Like, I just think Steve Francis is just in a whole other place right now, man. I mean, because every time we talk about him, every time we see a story about him, it's nothing good. It's either him looking like grim death, saying something crazy, or doing, you know, and a lot of it takes place in the club. Remember, he was in the club by himself that time when Steven Jackson was rapping. He's wandering around. He ends up behind Steven Jackson, bumping into dudes, and gets choked out. And, like, why is he – first of all, why is he always in the club by himself, man? Can you tell me that?
Yo, I have no clue. He's always solo. Like,
yo, where's Catino Mobley, man? Come on, man.
Yo, Cat walking around looking like a distinguished professor with all gray hair now. And Stevie Franchise is like, you know, I'm not saying he's a crackhead, but he has crackhead tendencies. I think it was Chris Rock who said that. But, yo, this dude, man, yo, for those who have never seen the video, please go look the video up so you don't think we're, like, you know, exaggerating. This is real. Like, I ain't got no more to say about that young man.
All right, man. Well, let's talk a little bit about Teddy Bridgewater, somebody who actually expects to hear his name called later on tonight once that NFL draft gets underway. We all know Teddy Bridgewater, the quarterback from Louisville. He made a promise to his mom when he was about 9 years old, you know, saying that one day he was going to make it to the NFL and he was going to buy his mom a Cadillac. So the other day out in New York, he surprised his mom with a pink Escalade with pink rims. And before you think, you know, it's just somebody doing something ratchet because it's pink on pink, his mom is a breast cancer survivor, so it's kind of symbolic of what she went through. So what do you think about this story? You know, it was a feel-good story. It was on, like, Good Morning America. It had everybody crying and everything.
I got to keep it 1 million, like, you know, because I can't lie to our listeners. When I first heard this story, I said, what is he doing? When I first heard that Teddy Bridgewater buys his mom an Escalade, I didn't know the whole story. When I heard the whole story, it kind of made sense because Cadillac put up most of the money. Cadillac put up most of the money for this car. They actually used it in their marketing. It's on Cadillac's YouTube channel, the whole presentation. Like, Cadillac actually paid to have Spike Lee direct a video of him giving the gift over. So it's kind of like a, you know, Cadillac, he's doing something for his mom, but he did get like a corporate sponsor to pretty much foot the bill for it. You know, I'm very sensitive to the whole cancer thing, so I get it. It's interesting to see, like, you know, this go down, especially with the rumors of him dropping, and we'll talk about later where he will go in the draft. A lot of our draft experts think it's BS in terms of him, you know, falling in the draft, but, of course, I thought about that. Like, you know, the NFL money is crazy, yo. Like, you know, we know ex-NFL players, yo. I make more than them, so, like, just because you go to the league, especially in the NFL, doesn't mean that, you know,
I had league cats sleeping on my couch before. Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, people don't understand
that's not
that.
The league.
And that's what's crazy about it, because the NFL is like the most brutal sport, but you have to have love for the game, because from a compensation standpoint, unless you're like Peyton Manning or Tom Brady, like, yo, it almost isn't worth it. There's no guaranteed contracts, and, you know, and it can't be guaranteed contracts for several reasons. People always say, why can't they get guaranteed contracts? Well, because
for the reason that you just stated.
It's
for the reason you just stated.
The insurers have already said that the NFL tried to give guaranteed contracts. They would lose a lot of their insurance, so it's impossible to get guaranteed contracts. So it's a brutal sport. With that being said, this was a nice, like, feel-good story. It was good to, like, see a couple feel-good stories this week, because when it comes to sports, it's damn near like, you know, covering entertainment. I mean, sports has always been entertainment. But it's like, damn near, we're damn near like TMZ at this point, because every time we turn around, there's somebody doing something else crazy. You know, so when you see feel-good stories, they're good. But my initial reaction was one thing, but then when I read the actual story and saw how it went down and got all the information, you know, it's a good story.
Yeah, it's either like TMZ or it's like us just reading off the police blotter, you know, anything like that. But I was just like you when I first heard it. Like, before you get the details, I'm like, come on, man, that's some hood ratchet stuff. I'm like, buy your mama a house, man, not a pink Cadillac with pink rims. But then, you know, they put it together, and you can never say anything negative about anything cancer related. So, you know, I had to shut up on that one. So, good deed by him. I'm pretty sure once he gets drafted, the house is coming next. Maybe Spike can direct that too. Just don't make that pink.
Real quick,
that'd be going too far.
Real quick shout out to our brother B. Austin, who's out trying to save the lost kids, the lost kids in a tribe in Africa. So he's out, like, you know, doing his work in the community. But he is listening, and he said that Steve Francis made us forget about Lamar Odom. Only for a second, yo, because they may hang together, yo. Cause it's the same type of behavior. It's the same sort of behavior, man. But shout out to Teddy Bridgewater. Getting back to that story, shout out to Teddy Bridgewater, man. Shout out to his mom. We hope you beat the cancer. Leroy McConnell says that his mom is now an honorary Mary Kay member. So,
no.
At any rate, man, let's move on.
They get pink caddies when they sell enough of them drugs. I mean, that makeup.
Damn.
Shelly Sterling, the wife of Donald Sterling, she has secured a lawyer because she's not giving up the Clippers.
Wow.
She basically confirmed yesterday that she intends to keep ownership of the team. She wants to keep it in the family because the NBA, when they made the move to get Donald Sterling out, they were specific about it being sanctions against Donald Sterling and not actions against Shelly or her family. So they're kind of leaving them a loophole, which makes me even more suspicious of the NBA, Jimmy. At first, I had already said when everybody was patting Adam Silver on the back and making him a hero, I was basically thinking that he was just doing what he has to do at this point. Like, what else could he do as a new commissioner? He's trying to get everybody to like him. He didn't make a decision, in my opinion, that was hard to make. You had to do that
listen,
to
man.
save face. Man,
I said this on the record, yo. For those who don't believe me, like I made an appearance on a couple shows because we get appearances now. So I made an appearance on a couple shows last week when this news broke. One of them was Outsports.com. Yes, I did appear on Outsports.com because never mind. But if you go check their podcasts, right? They called me to ask me to speak on a Donald Sterling issue, and when I spoke on it, I says, first of all, the entire league was too quick to give the commissioner a Blumpkin the way they were. They were acting as if this guy solved the hunger problem in America. Oh, he's not just the owner's commissioner. He's everyone's commissioner.
The players' commissioner.
He's the players' commissioner. Like, the way they were treating him, I felt as though he gave the I Have a Dream speech. Either that or he dropped Illmatic. But beyond that, the way they were treating this guy, I said something's fishy. Two, I said, what happens if it goes to his family? Because they didn't say that it couldn't go to his family. Right. And I also read reports that he was trying to, okay, well, I'll get rid of it. It's not in my name and transfer it to his son-in-law. He supposedly has a tight relationship with his son-in-law, who he's been mentoring and kind of grooming to take over the team, who's his daughter's husband or whatever. But so I've read reports that's kind of how he was going to get out of it, because so technically he's not in control of the team. But at the end of the day, what he has done to that brand, that name, is going to be beyond repair unless you get rid of him. Now the whole idea of getting rid of him and all that it's a complex topic. But at the end of the day, no one can deny that the Clipper name, when you hear that name, that's what you think of now. They don't even have a history to think of because they stink as an organization. So when you hear Clippers, you think of Donald Sterling at this point. He's synonymous with the Clippers. So not only do I think they need new ownership, they need to change the name of the team.
Yeah, this has to be a situation. Yeah, this has to be a situation. If you're really going to do something that deserving of the Blumpkin that he did get, you have to basically contract this team out of the league, and maybe put another team in Seattle or something. You have to get rid of this team because he's not going out without a fight. But even if he had to somehow go out, he still has the loophole of his wife being 50% stakeholder in the organization just because of their marriage. So you can wrestle him out of the league, but he's an 80-something-year-old man. The team, when he passed soon, was just going to his family anyway. And the team was just going to his family anyway.
Wild,
so now all you're doing is forcing it to where it was going to go anyway. He's still going to profit. His family's not going to say, oh, this ain't yours no more. You can't have the money. He's still married to this woman. And I think it's a big farce. And I think the NBA knew that this loophole existed when they made it adamantly clear that, okay, we're going to force Donald Sterling out. We're not going to force anybody else out. They knew that his wife was part owner of this team as well.
Listen, the NBA, it's wild because people act as if the whole thing was over, right? Once the commissioner made his ruling, but at the end of the day,
exactly,
it's
sing kumbaya.
It's like anything else. It's like anything else, man. Like it reminds me, like, people always ask me what I mean when I put a hashtag bread and circuses, but that's exactly what this is. Do your history to know what it is. That was used in Rome. You know, you give the people bread and circuses, you distract them while everything else goes on. So once something else pops up in the news, people forget the whole Donald Sterling. I don't see people riding for Trayvon Martin anymore. You know, Amadou Diallo, you know, the Genesis 6. When the last time you heard the Genesis 6? Yo, my point is, once something else happens, they forget about it. So this whole issue with racism in the NBA and Donald Sterling, no one's even talking about it anymore.
But Jim,
you know what I mean?
For all the fans who talked a big game, all the fans that talked a big game, by him making that ruling the day that he did, he gave everyone an out. He gave everyone an excuse. Even the players who said they were going to boycott the game, like he gave them a reason not to. All the fans who claimed the Clippers weren't going to get, you know, their money anymore, he gave them an excuse. Donald Sterling still owns the team, and if they force him out and his wife and family still own the team, then Donald Sterling will still own the team. He just won't be allowed to participate. So, like, the Clippers won't get my money. Seriously, the Clippers won't get my money again. They probably won't get my money again, period. Because I don't see this going away anytime soon. Unless they just get rid of that team and then put another team somewhere else if they need to replace it, the Clippers won't get my money again. And people are probably thinking, well, you live on the East Coast. They don't. I travel all the time. I've been to several Clipper games. The Clippers won't get my money.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And
I'm not fooled.
Man, it's like,
I'm not fooled by this.
That's where the power is in this country. The power always goes to economics, right? So you show your position by spending your dollar. So if enough people say that, and not only that, the damage that's done to that organization, if you're a free agent, do you even want to sign with them? Now, I understand from the players' union standpoint, you want to have those jobs because there's a limited amount of jobs in the NBA. So as a union, you want to make sure those jobs are still there. So you don't want contraction, but at the same time, who's going to sign there? I mean, they're going to become a dormant franchise as they once were, you know. So, I mean, something has to be done. But this is why you can't go around and celebrate until the work is completely done. The fact of the matter is,
but until they got some of their own guys back, Jim. Okay, good.
Yeah, I was saying all the activists that popped up because of this, like, yo, the fight isn't over, but no one's even talking about it anymore. Not that you should be talking about Donald Sterling, but the pressure has to be on the league. If no one's talking about it and he's able to transfer ownership over to his wife and that's just it, like, what was the point of the whole farce?
But everybody's already fooled into thinking the league made this heroic stance, and there's nothing to talk about with the league. But, yeah, I mean, as far as people signing there, I mean, until recently when they got to re-sign some of their own guys because of their, you know, short-term success, people still weren't signing with the Clippers anyway. They'd always get some good young players because they were always drafting in the lottery, but then when those rookie contracts was up, everybody bolted for the door. Now, you know, that the league, you know, took Chris Paul from the Lakers and sent him over there, they're having a little more success with, you know, re-signing some of their own folks since Chris Paul decided to re-sign. So the league, in all actuality, helped this team to any success, you know, that they're having right now. And
this is true.
You know, now they want to look like they're playing the hero when I'm not buying it. So, all right, but look,
this is true.
That's what happened. We got the venting on this, John. That's what happened while y'all were on the grind. Jimmy, let everybody know who's having a birthday this week, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, we did get the venting on that, man. But that's an issue, man. That bothered me when I saw it. Anyway, for those who may be listening for the first time, shame on you. But at the end of the day, you have to know that our birthday segment is brought to you by Dr. Monique Roll of Alexandria Podiatry Associates. For the best and comprehensive treatment of injuries to the foot, ankle, and lower extremities, visit Dr. Monique Roll of Alexandria Podiatry Associates. Treating patients in the D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area and beyond, visit alexandriapodiatry.org or call 703-379-0700. Don't forget, tell them War Room Sports sent you. Shout out to Dr. Monique Roll and Alexandria Podiatry Associates for supporting the War Room. Now, with that being said, the birthday. First birthday, Felix Jones turns 27.
Overrated. Oh.
Peter Corey Stringer, who passed away on August 1st, 2001.
He was
Reston
the
Power.
big cat with the Vikings that had that heat exhaustion in training camp.
Yeah,
right?
man. Crazy.
Another football thing when you're not getting money the way you should be or could be.
And that's
in
like
another
in
sport.
camp when you really ain't making like your salary. So, man,
Mm-hmm.
rest in power, good brother. Ronnie Lott, who some say is the greatest safety to ever play football. Do you agree with that?
Off the top of my head, no.
Hey, but his name is one of the names that have to
Ronnie
be
is the
mentioned. Like, his name pops up.
Yeah.
His name pops up.
Definitely.
He's at
in
the
the
table.
argument.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
He turns
He's in the
55.
All
right.
Ronnie Lott.
Ronnie Lott. Now, next one is Lovie Smith. Lovie Smith turning 56. Shout out to Lovie Smith. He stays gainfully employed in this league. Bill Cowher. Bill Cowher turns 57. It's crazy to see that Bill Cowher is 57 and Lovie Smith is 56 with, like, Bill Cowher's track record. He must have, like, got hired at, like, 16. So Bill Cowher
Spitting on everybody. Yeah.
Another rest in peace shout out. Sonny Liston, one of the greatest boxers, one of the greatest pugilist specialists to ever live. Rest in power to him as well. He passed in 1970. So those are the birthdays this week. We like to give a nice big war room salute to all these gentlemen on their birthdays. Dev, before we move on, tell everybody how they can get in touch with us, man.
All right, everybody, you can check out our website at warroomsports.com. While you're there, be sure to sign up for the War Report. That's our weekly newsletter, 1 email per week. That's all you get. Click on the Contact Us tab to send a message about our company, our show, to inquire about sponsorship and advertising opportunities. We do have them. Get on the boat before those prices go up. For general inquiries, email us at info@warroomsports.com. While you're browsing the site, click on the memorabilia tab. Make sure you buy some War Room Sports merchandise. Click on the blog tab to read our latest articles in the All's Fair in Sports and War blog. And we go beyond sports in that too. Remember, War Room Sports is a lifestyle. It's a culture organization here, so we go beyond sports in that as well. Then you can click the respective icons and tabs to like our Facebook page, to follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our iTunes podcast, to watch our videos at warroomsportstv.com, to listen to the network shows at wrspn.com, and to download our free War Room Sports mobile app so you can get everything I just mentioned on the go right there on your own device. Join the JW Philly Realty chat room right now during the show at blogtalkradio.com/thewarroom. To enter the chat room, just sign up for a free profile on Blog Talk Radio. If you don't want to do that, you can sign into your Facebook and Twitter accounts, and while you're at it, click follow so you can get updates and reminders about the show every week. We'll be taking questions and reading posts from Facebook, Twitter, and the chat room during the show. To call in and speak with us, dial the Digital Extreme Tech hotline at 323-410-0012. Press 1 when prompted, and if you're already listening from your phone, just go ahead and press 1 if you feel like you want to add something to the conversation. So, look, the Digital Extreme Tech hotline is open right now, so if you have any questions on the topics we're about to talk about, if you have any comments, concerns, anything you want to say, just call that number, 323-410-0012. So let's get into some hot topics real quick.
Yeah, no doubt.
Jimmy, the hot topics.
Real quick, Dev. In our chat room, we got some comments I just wanted to bring to the table. Let me see. At Casey Mack, Leroy McConnell says the league bought themselves some time. What they did so the playoffs wouldn't be affected. And that's kind of what you said, too. They did what they had to at that time.
Makes perfect sense.
Also, in terms of the best safety, Ed Reed's name was mentioned. So that's a good versus. Ed Reed versus Ronnie Lott. That's a good versus right there. B-Days, a couple more B-Days, Kemba Walker and Bobby Labonte, so shout out to them. But if I told you right now you have to choose one safety in their prime, Ed Reed and Ronnie Lott, who are you choosing?
Damn. I might have to go Ed Reed. You know, Ronnie Lott is the dude that I want if I need to intimidate some cats. But I think overall I would have to go Ed Reed. But I was still thinking, like, it might be neither with me. Like,
who are you thinking about?
I don't want to make a on the spot dice spin, but you got to put other cats in that argument. Rod Woodson, who played both.
About that, but he played a lot of corner too.
Yeah, he played a lot of corner first, so he may not be in that. But he was the type of dude. You got B-Dog goes in the conversation. I don't think anybody would ever say B-Dog was the greatest, but you know he's maybe not in the number one greatest conversation, but he sits at the table if you're talking about a top 5 argument, top 10 argument, something like that.
Got you.
But yeah, I guess I would have to go Ed Reed.
Ooh, interesting. You know what? We're gonna take this off the show.
If I want to hurt a couple cats,
I'm
gonna go Ronnie.
Yeah, we're gonna take this off the show. We're gonna create a versus and see what our people think on the different social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and whatnot. Because I think that's
what they're gonna say. They're gonna say, "Is this even a question? It ain't even close."
A question? And then what's gonna happen is everyone. It's gonna be an age thing. So if all the younger people will pick Ed Reed, and the people who are a little bit older will pick Rod Woodson without even really comparing them. You know, everybody thinks that the greatest thing happened during their life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You know.
Anyway, so we got a couple of dudes on our Facebook community. They probably gonna take it way back in the day, just because they can, not because they really believe what they're saying. They just gonna look like historians of the game.
Yeah, that too. Then you're gonna have that contingency as well. But anybody wants to really analyze it, I think it's very close, but I think it's debatable. So there really is no right. And that's the funny thing. When we make these versus people, we always try to keep it with people who are great. So we compare greatness to greatness. It's not like we're asking you, Joe Schmo or saying like is Torrance Small better than Randy Moss. We're not doing that.
Yeah, and that's why, Jimmy. That's why I never understand the whole. Not even close. Is this really a question? Like back then, like we're doing people who are usually in the same mix, and if we're doing greats, they're some of the greatest of all time. So the whole it's not really close and all that. Like, come on, man, kill that.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Anyway, good brother, let's move on. Let's talk about these hot topics and who they're brought to you by. They're brought to you by Audible. If your schedule is too hectic to read as much as you want, try audiobooks. Kick back and let someone else do reading for you. All you have to do is visit Audible. That's audibletrial.com/warroomsports and get you a free book. In no time, you can have someone reading for you or reading to you, however you want to put it. But at the end of the day, Audible is an amazing service. And, if you just try it, you'll get a free book. If you don't want to stay, that's fine. Right now I'm listening to a book called The Circle, which is crazy. It's not a sports book, but it's like a crazy book about an organization. It's sort of like on some old John Grisham type thing, but it's not John Grisham. But it's an amazing book called The Circle, so you can go get that for free. The next sports book I'm reading is actually Sugar Ray Leonard. Shout out to B. also who thinks Sugar Ray Leonard is overrated, but I'm going to read his biography. I heard it's pretty good. So, audibletrial.com/warroomsports. All right, what are let's go, good brother.
All right, so, keeping it to what we do here in the War Room. I don't know how many of you guys out there listen to Chris Mad Dog Russo he does a show on Sirius XM. He's a sports host on there, and they actually have different hosts, not just him. But he said recently that he hasn't found, because somebody called his show and asked. He's like, in all the years that you've been on radio, your shows have never had a black host. So he basically said to this caller that he just hasn't found any black hosts worthy of hosting a national show. So it sparked some outrage, within the sports community, of course, within the black community. And, a lot of people were saying, to change this type of thinking, what you have to do is to stop listening to people like this. Now, we're not going to really talk about that. Jimmy, I just want to get your opinion, because actually on one of those appearances that we made this last week, like you just told everybody, we talked about this subject. So what are your thoughts on the comments by Chris Russo?
The comments
did he
were
say
shocking
something
at
crazy?
all.
Because he tried to kind of clean it up.
I mean, first of all, anytime you generalize, you're making a mistake, especially on that platform. People have to understand that it's power in that platform. He's on satellite radio, so a lot of people will hear you, and you have to understand the power of your words. So to say that is kind of crazy. I mean, we personally know a lot of people who have a lot of talent who wouldn't mind a job there. And I mean, that's not our lane per se, because we're creating our own thing, but to say that is kind of crazy. I mean, it was very ignorant. He realized that right away, so he tried to backtrack and say what it is. But here's the fact of the matter. I appreciate him saying these things. People thought I was crazy when I was like, thank you to Donald Sterling, because I tell people that this kind of culture and this mindset is out there, and they call me a race baiter and I'm making trouble. But this is how a lot of people think. I'm not saying everybody thinks that way, but there are a lot of people who feel that way. And in order to have a real dialogue, it looks like the only time we can have a dialogue is when something national happens and people are willing to engage in the conversation. But on a daily basis, people don't want to have the tough conversation. So thank you, Chris Russo. That's what I want to say about that.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and for me, I mean, because like I said, when I said he tried to clean it up, he basically tried to say, you know, I'd hire anybody of any color as long as they're qualified, as long as they're worthy. But he said they've been getting a bunch of resumes, and none of the resumes have really knocked them, you know, off their feet, making them just hire somebody just because they're black. Yeah, I mean, that's just one of the things I'm thinking. Like, I know, I mean, the black hosts who do national shows, they're really popular, and that's probably because there's only a few of them. But, you know, we know, like you said, we know guys all over the sports world, black guys, who can do just as good as a job as any of those other guys out there. So I'm thinking he's talking about getting resumes, but are you really looking? I mean, if you're not looking, then that's on you. You know, more power to you for running your shows the way you'd like to run your shows. But if that's the case, then say that's the case. Say we're not really out there looking like that. But to make that type of generalization, and you probably really don't know what's going on out there, it's kind of an asinine comment. But like you said, I'm not mad at the dude. You know, we just know who's who and what's what. So
absolutely, man. Yo, we got a caller on the line who wants to chime in on a couple of topics, but one being that whole safety debate we're having, man. We got the homie Chalk Belafonte who did our outro song we leave out to every show. Chalk, what's good?
What's going on, y'all?
What's going on, Chalk?
What's going on? I hear y'all talking some good business over there. However, I got a couple of things to interject because I heard some craziness.
All right,
I'm hoping y'all was joking.
You're about to bring up a Dallas Cowboy, aren't you?
Huh?
Are you about to bring up a Dallas Cowboy, man?
Oh, no, I'm not going to bring up number one team in America about to get Johnny Football. I'm not going to bring them up.
Yo, he was fit right in. Johnny Football.
I'm not going to bring them up at all.
Oh,
but no,
God.
This Ronnie Lott and are you sick? Ronnie Lott is the epitome of safety. Like, that's who.
But see here, yo, you proved my point. You proved my point. I said that people who grew up at a certain era, right, you know, will pick Ronnie Lott. If you watch football in, you know, the 80s or what have you, going into the 90s, you'll pick Ronnie Lott. The younger generation will pick Ed Reed. You proved my point. I'm not saying that one is better than the other. I'm just saying that it's going to be a preference thing to when you really got into football.
Yeah. And for me, it's just difficult for me. Because with those type of dudes, it's all about what you're looking for on your team. That's why I said if I was looking for more of an intimidator, and I'm not saying that's all he can do because Ronnie Lott was all around as well, but if I'm looking for, you know, an intimidator, I'm going Ronnie Lott. You know, if I'm looking for, you know, something more on the coverage side of things, then I might have to lean towards Ed Reed. But, you know, no disrespect to either one of them.
Isn't football all about intimidation?
Not all
about.
The thing about it is don't front on Ed Reed like he ain't one of them guys.
Oh no. He that ball. Like of course I respect him to the utmost. But
Ed Reed used to clean some clocks, but his was more on when the receiver wasn't expecting it type thing. Like Ronnie Lott would just go head up with you and destroy you, but.
Yo, and also, you know, I do want to give you a shout out though, because the fact that you picked a 49er, being a Cowboys fan, is very impressive because most people think that
that's big of you.
You know, so that's kind of big of you, good brother. So shout out to you for that.
Hey man, you know what? I didn't say I like the 40. I said Ronnie Lott, man. I didn't say I like the 49.
I know. But even that coming from a Cowboys fan is big, man. What else you want to talk about, good brother?
Y'all was just talking about something else. What was y'all just talking about?
About
a
couple things. A couple
Chris
things. We talked
Russo.
about the gentleman, the guy Chris Russo talking about is no good black people he can hire at his thing.
Exactly. I got to piggyback what Jimmy said, man. Like Donald Sterling, it's like this, man. As a race of people, we hop on things that are hot for the moment. Donald Sterling, in my opinion, he was just salty because this chick was out there and he was being teased by his homies on the golf course or whatever. And that came out. Now, we all know that probably 90% of our bosses feel the same way, but we don't know 90% of our bosses' phone number to have a conversation like that. So it's like, you can't get, like, especially as an MC, like, you can get mad, but we say all kind of crazy stuff in our rhymes, and we listen to all kind of rhymes, and we sing along with them. We let our kids listen to them for those who's not that responsible. And but you don't get mad because all he said was what he said. He ain't say the N-word. He just said, I feed them, I do this, I do that, and I want them at my games. Like, he ain't say nothing wrong, like that wrong, whether that we don't say ourselves. So we have
my
to,
thing is this,
as a race of people,
though,
I mean, I don't agree with, I mean, I'm glad that he's out or on his way out. But
I get you. I know. I understand your point. I understand exactly what you're trying to say. My thing is this though. Just to be honest, like I don't want my chick around y'all dudes either though. Like you know what I'm saying. Like I don't want she can't she can't sleep with y'all though. That he went too far with that. You can sleep with him. Like no, you can't do that either, B. But no, I understand what you're saying. There are a lot of issues going on, and we need to be more vocal about all of them. Like at the end of the day, this is a basketball owner who comes from a culture how a lot of people feel that way. My whole thing is he's going, supposedly going. He's not even really going yet. My thing is don't wait. Don't just drop the ball on this and move to the next hot thing because this isn't over. Like I was saying earlier, we have all these issues that seem to pop up, and then when something else sexier. Now the whole thing is what's the new thing now? Bring back our girls. The girls like in Nigeria, what have you?
Yeah.
That's like
something that happened like a month ago.
Yeah, that's like that's the new hot thing now. That's the hot thing that everybody's on. No one's talking about Sterling. Like, people not even repping for Trayvon no more, man. Until next week, till the next thing happens, man. It's like you have to have follow through with these things, and you have to stay on these people's tops because a lot of times people know that. Like, look, it'll blow over,
And we can't wait for other people to do stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That's my whole problem with the whole everybody waited to, what is the NBA going to do? I'm like, if you're really feeling it like that, you can force change yourself. Like I said, stop giving these people your money. But you waiting for the NBA to make
the power is always in the dollar, man.
Everybody wanted to see what the NBA was going to do so the NBA could give us an excuse to not do anything and keep spending our money in places we don't need to spend our money.
I'm laughing. We got a comment in our chat room. It says, if Donald Sterling brought the girls back, America would love him again. He could have second
damn. He probably got the girls.
Y'all crazy, man. We know you're a huge Cowboys fan, man. What do you want your Cowboys to get, man? You talking this Johnny football? Do you really want that?
Listen, all right. All jokes aside, what we need is key defensive players like the whole entire secondary.
What about somebody to replace the guy you lost that went to the Broncos? My team. What about somebody to replace Ware?
Oh man, listen, me and Jerry wasn't talking at that time, so I don't know what. I mean, it was a money thing, and but at the same time, people get old and you gotta let them go. But I mean, I don't agree with that. I mean, it's equivalent to when y'all let Reggie White go, so you really can't say much right now.
Yeah.
Well, that's my squad.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I mean, on one token, I get what you're saying, but he ain't no Reggie White though. Come on, B.
Wait a minute. Oh my God, you're good. You're definitely a debater, man. Like.
No, but
I'm not saying he's Reggie White, but he's equivalent to what Reggie White meant to y'all.
In my opinion, Reggie White is one of the top 3 defensive players ever, and I'm not even an Eagles fan. The top 3 defensive players, well, to me, are probably Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White, and Ray Lewis. Maybe Ray Lewis is arguable, but the top 2, without question, in my mind, are Lawrence Taylor and Reggie White. So, that's all I'm saying. I wouldn't compare Ware to Reggie White, but I get your point. Anyway, man, so we'll see what happens, man. Check back with us next week, man, till we see who your Cowboys draft, man. We got an argument. Somebody said Bruce Smith
listen, man. I hope Manning gets hurt forever, and you can get off this Broncos bandwagon. It's
Yeah,
sickening, man. But I love y'all show, man. Congrats to what y'all doing, man. I'm definitely a supporter, and
Yeah, we'll see you.
You already know, man.
Thanks, Chap.
Although it's under sad terms, we will see you at our brother's wake, good brother.
Oh, most definitely, man. Rest in peace to my man Marvin, man.
All right, no doubt. I'll holler at you, good brother.
All right,
Adios.
All right.
Yeah, so, back to the whole Russo thing. Like you said, it's not really that big of a deal for me. It seems like, it's another story because they probably were looking for the next story to distract everybody from anything else that's going on or has been going on. If Chris Russo can't find black hosts for the Mad Dog show, then whatever to Chris Russo. I'm not trying to work at the Mad Dog show, so.
Yeah, on the screen.
All right. So, Floyd Mayweather, he got another victory on Saturday night over Marcos Maidana. This fight was a little bit interesting, and as far as fans go, there was some controversy on both sides because you actually had some fans out there saying that Maidana was robbed. Floyd shouldn't have won this one. Me personally, I disagree with that, and I have no rooting interest in the fight. Neither one of those guys. I could care less. I just wanted to see a good fight, and I actually thought that I saw a good fight, but it wasn't. I don't think it was as good as people thought it was. I think in the early rounds, Maidana came out with a really aggressive style that Floyd. I wouldn't even say he wasn't ready for, but it was one that he had to adjust to. He came out and, you could tell from jump, Jimmy, that, okay, what he's doing now is cool, but he really hasn't hit him with any of those big shots like he hit Adrian Broner with. And if Floyd can stem that tide, there's no human being on earth who can keep that pace up for a whole 12-round fight. So I kind of knew immediately where this fight was going to go because, we were all saying that there's no way he's going to keep up that pace. And he slowed down the pace. Floyd got a little more defensive, and he actually was more aggressive offensively in this fight and did a lot of counter-punching once Maidana slowed down a little bit. So what did you think about the whole thing? Did you think there was any controversy in the decision, even though it was a majority decision and not unanimous?
We got our brother Naeem on the line. About to bring him on in a second. And I know he wants to talk about this because he's a huge boxing fan. But before I bring him on, I just want to say that I see it the same way you did. It's funny because I watched the fight. At this point, it's not even the purpose of Floyd fighting because I know what the arguments will be before the fight and after the fight. It's like people either love Floyd and support him unconditionally or people hate him and just want him to lose so bad. So from a financial standpoint, he's in a perfect place because both people support him whether they know it or not. But from a boxing standpoint, I definitely think he won the fight. I don't think it was as close as people think. It's sort of like people overrate Floyd. It's like, overrate his opponents. They'll land a punch. If they land that punch on anyone else, it's like, so what? But because it's Floyd, it's like, oh! You know what I mean?
He's become such a defensive. People don't expect him to get hit at all. When he gets hit, everybody's so surprised. Even the announcers
at times seem to be anti-Floyd in how they talk the fights while you're watching it. And, I'm just like you. I don't root for Floyd, nor do I root against Floyd. I just want to see a great fight. To be honest with you, when it comes to boxing, I'm territorial. There's only two dudes I root for at this point who are active, which is Bernard and, Garcia. I root for guys from Philly. That's
PSP.
Pretty much what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, PSP. I root for guys that come from the city. But other than that, I don't care whether Floyd loses or wins. I want to see a great fight, and I do like to see greatness. But with that being said,
and just like you said, Jimmy, Floyd is such a polarizing figure that, like you said, how you knew what the arguments would be, even before the fight, during the fight. See, this was a little bit different because Floyd got a little bit of a challenge. You know what I'm saying? So you expect as soon as he gets a little bit of a challenge, you're going to have people out there saying that he lost the fight, even if in their hearts and their minds they know that's really not true. They're not used to seeing that. They're used to seeing Floyd just totally dominate a fight, so the only thing they really get to say after the fight is, well, he didn't fight anybody. They handpicked him or, whatever you want to say. But this time he got a little bit of a challenge, so I know people were waiting, just trying to pounce. As soon as Floyd gets that little bit of a challenge, we're going to go ahead and act like You know,
Because
the
we're
other
used
guy
to
got
seeing
robbed.
Floyd-
And,
We've seen Floyd win fights where he barely gets up around. You know, so it's like any resemblance of a challenge will be overrated just because. But that just goes to show how great he's been in the sport. You know.
yeah.
We see it in
And
basketball
this
at
was
times.
the type of fight, Jim. This was the type of fight where our combat sports expert John Rhines, that advice he gave us on air that time. Like, if you're a boxing purist, this is the type of fight that you watch again and you turn the sound off. Because, like Jimmy said, the announcers were kind of leading you, you know, into a direction that really wasn't true. Because if you're listening to the fight, they're making you think that it's way more competitive than it is, when what I actually saw was Maidana being very active, being very aggressive, but wasn't really connecting on a lot of punches.
Yo, shout out to John, because that's like the greatest advice anybody ever gave me in terms of watching boxing, because it definitely paints a different picture. When you actually watch a fight, cut the sound off, yo, it's an entirely different story. Yeah, because you get to see what the fight really was about, because, yo, those announcers definitely lead. But
the crowd does
the fight
too.
was as close as people
like
might.
Maidana will throw
too.
a bunch of punches, the crowd will stand up and cheer as loud as they can. So you think like, oh, he getting in Floyd, but then you look at the slow motion replay and you're like, yo, he landed like 1 out of 12 of those punches.
Yo, I remember watching the game, right, when Kobe and T-Mac were playing, and T-Mac put up like 30 or something, and Kobe had like 40. But the fact of the matter is, people were saying, oh, T-Mac this and T-Mac that. He put up 30 on Kobe. I'm like, well, Kobe had 40, though. But the thing is, Kobe it's the same way. Such a polarizing figure that anyone who does anything significant against him is like, yo, is overrated.
Oh, yeah.
That's just how it is.
Shout out to B. Austin. That's how he used to be when he was a Kobe detractor. Now he defends the dude more than any of us, but
yeah, absolutely.
That's how he used to be.
He did a
like,
180.
He took turns with two guards and small forwards, you know, throughout the mid to late 90s into the 2000s, saying this guy's better than Kobe because he did this guy's better than Kobe. Then he just gave up and, you know, can't beat him, join him type of thing.
Let's bring our brother Naeem, who's on hold on, because I know he got to say something about the fight, man. I know he do. Naeem, what's good, homie?
What's going on? You know, I'm not a Floyd fan, but I'm a boxer fan. I got my money's worth this weekend. I'm going to say this. I'm going to be honest. Dude came for a brawl. He swung a lot. He ran out of gas in the 5th or the 6th round. If anybody paid attention, I would watch the replay without sound already. He swung a lot of shots. He gave Floyd a headshot. I mean, Floyd was in for a brawl.
Let me ask both of you guys a question, because we got a comment in our chat room, and I just want to get your opinion on this. It says that Floyd seems to be trying to please the fans. Like, he isn't fighting his usual fight, and Floyd Sr. is right. At this point in his career, he's starting to get hit too much. So what he's saying is Floyd seems to be trying to, like, please the fans as opposed to just being Floyd and not getting hit. But, you know,
understand, people always go by his career. He didn't fight people in their prime, which is a bunch of crap. I can't think of that British dude he fought in his prime. He fought a lot of people in their prime, and he whipped their butt. So now he's trying to please the people. It might cause him, but it may not, because the competition in his weight class is weak. I mean, I'm being honest. I want to see him.
I don't buy that.
I want to see him fight Garcia.
I don't really buy that.
Garcia get hurt.
And Floyd said the same thing himself. Like, I was trying to give the people what they want. I don't really buy that. I don't think that's what Floyd wants to do. I think Maidana kind of forced the pace, and Floyd had to fight for his damn life.
He did.
Yeah, so I don't really think he went out there saying...
made the fight. Maidana made the fight what it was. Floyd had to
I don't actually think Floyd went out there saying, oh, I'm going to brawl with this dude, I'm going to do this. I think Floyd got into a situation was like, I'm going to have to be a little more offensive because this dude is wild, swinging these overhand rights, trying to kill me. I'm going to have to try to kill him back. So I don't think he was necessarily trying to give the people what he wants, but of course he's going to say that because he's a salesman. You know, he knows what he's doing. He got to say that. But, you know.
But like Jimmy said, people hate Floyd.
I think he was just brawling for his life at some point.
Like Jimmy said, people hate Floyd and they love Floyd. And it's like, I'm on the medium line. I just want to get my money's worth and I'm good. Like, there's no boxer to me next to Mike Tyson. You know what I mean? I remember as a kid watching Mike knock somebody out in 90 seconds. That doesn't happen no more. You know what I mean? So it's like now people are like, you know, they hate this dude. I'm like, how can you hate success? Like, dude has really changed the game of boxing. Anytime you take boxing from HBO and move it to Showtime, that's serious. That's serious. Like he told
And
Larry
HBO
Bird,
HBO ain't doing the same numbers no more either. It's crazy.
No.
How numbers now
Like with
became
Floyd,
like-
I want to see Floyd get challenged. If that ends up in a loss, then so be it. Because then we'll get to see. Then we'll really get to see what he's about. Because it's a lot of times it's about how you come back. So that would be great to see. But I'm not pressed. Like the only person I was pressed in boxing to see them get their boot stretched, it happened. So I'm already happy. Adrian Broner got his ass.
It's crazy, man. Because I blame the fans too, because we put so much stock in that undefeated thing, and that's not even if you're a competitive boxer and you fight at the highest level, like it's nothing wrong with losing, like Dev said, it's about how you come back. You are a warrior, right. But this whole thing of being undefeated, like, what is it? Is he the Undertaker at WrestleMania? Like it doesn't matter. Like it just doesn't matter.
The only person that gave Floyd a challenge. Of
course, it matters to Floyd. It definitely matters to Floyd.
Of course it does, but that's because of the fans.
My person gave Floyd a challenge was Sugar Shane Mosley. And what I mean by a challenge, the first 2 rounds. He got his belt.
Then he ran out of gas. He
ran out of gas. He's the only one that came close in the last 4 to 5 years to not do that.
He rocked him real hard and then said at the end of the fight, like, I was gassed after that. Like, dog, that was round 2. How do you get into a 12-round fight
and there was one punch?
Round 2?
One punch.
He must have Hadouken team if you get tired after one punch.
Look at the fight.
That's the hardest he's ever been hit. Definitely the hardest.
That's because of that chick. That was because of that chick.
Yeah.
Remember, he was messing with that chick, and he wasn't. And his trainer told him like, "Yo, stay away." He kept leaving camp to go be with that girl, man. Like, and also. Speaking of that, Floyd's mom was somewhere else going in this fight too. Over his little situation with Nelly or whatever. But so.
Oh yeah, I'm not even going. You know what?
I'm just saying, man. Listen, man, these women to get you in trouble, man. Ask Donald Sterling.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm gonna say this before I get off.
Let me ask you this real quick before you go. I want to ask both you guys because they're talking about a rematch. Is that something you want to see?
No, I want you to go see it.
Truthfully, I don't think that's something Floyd wants to see.
This will not work for you. No, you don't want that.
That just like I was saying, I think he was saying what he's supposed to say with the whole I'm giving the people what they want. Him saying, I want to, let's do it again. I think he's just saying that, the negotiations will magically break down at some point. And I'm not saying this because if they fought again, Floyd wouldn't beat him again because he probably would. But it's like, okay, you already proved yourself with this dude. Why get back in the ring with this dude who's wild as hell? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, you might beat him again, but you just might get injured in the process. Yeah, it's like I've already.
You got 2 more fights left with Showtime. Finish the contract out. Give us Garcia.
We don't want to see you fight dude again. Yeah, it's some better dudes out there. I definitely would like to see Garcia. I'm going to say this before I get off. I'm sorry, he should call out his young boy, beat up Adrian Broner.
It's crazy what y'all said about social media, what people talk about, like the Clippers owner. Remember, I think it was a year ago or 2 years ago, Trayvon Martin, young boy named. I think I called in and spoke on this. All the hoop cry. When a wolf takes one of our sheep, we cry. And that's in the same theory now. Whenever a wolf does something to us, we all cry in the hundreds. And like what you said, why don't we do something before that happens? Like what Adrian Broner, like what WBC did, when he called that guy out his name Mexican, they suspended his behind. He got smacked right away. It wasn't a month later right away. Until we learn as a people, we got to stop and take back what is ours. Speak on it. I mean, you got young men getting killed in the streets every day. Nobody's doing nothing. Nothing.
Listen, man.
And now we're worrying about what's going on in Nigeria to come get our girls back. They are not our girls. Save our young men and women in the United States first. Worry about ours. But we don't look at that. We don't look at that picture. So I'm just confused on it. I'm not saying in my heart doesn't go for those out there in Nigeria. I mean being realistic here. Nigerians come over here, they got the most scam artists in the world. That's another subject. I'm not even going to go there. I'm not going to go there. Because I worked with my mom. My mom had a store in Jewelers Row, and I watched these people come on Jewelers Row sell fake diamonds half my life. So I'm not even going there. But we are the first ones to run over here, and we're going to get into some mess behind this. It's wasting money. Take care of the backyard, and that's all I got to say. I'll be getting that bunch of inboxes, a smart one on this one.
Tell him how you really feel. Tell him how you really feel.
All right, good, brother, man. Have a good one, man. All right,
You too.
take it easy.
Hey.
I'm going to fall back from that one. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
I mean,
You know,
he made some interesting points.
Absolutely,
Because
man.
I have seen a lot of people on the Bring Our Girls Back saying, first of all, the story isn't new, but everybody, because now it's picking up some steam in the media, now everybody's an activist for a week. I mean, I feel that too.
Man. Yo.
Yeah, everybody's an activist for a week.
That's exactly what it is, man. Shout out to my Nigerian homie who said all I gotta do is send him, like, you know, my Social Security number, and he's a prince, and he's gonna give me a couple $1 million, man. You know, shout out to you. Anyway,
so you can get his money over here. You're gonna put some of it in my bank account.
Exactly. As soon as we get it over here, he's gonna hook me up.
50% of that. Yeah. So y'all, you know, y'all can check out our website at warroomsports.com to call in and speak with us about any of today's topics. Dial the Digital Extreme Tech hotline at 323-410-0012. Press 1 when prompted. If you already listen from your phone, just press 1 if you want to talk. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about these NBA playoffs real quick before we get into the preview of the NBA draft. In about
draft.
20 minutes. I mean, damn, I'm messing up leagues. In about 20 minutes.
Trying to get rid of the playoffs already, man?
In about 20 minutes, Fred Perdue, one of our draft experts, is going to call in and talk to us for a little while. He's from HeavyInTheGames.com, and he does a lot of work for War Room Sports. So we're going to welcome him on in about 20 minutes. But for now, Jim, this thing of ours is still going on.
Go! That's right, La Costa Nostra. NBA, that's right, Fanatics. For the best in your favorite team's merchandise apparel, shop Fanatics. Shopping Fanatics is easy. Just go to our site at warroomsports.com, click on the Fanatics logo. You know, go and just buy up, like NFL, NBA, NHL. Maybe you want to get you some Los Angeles Clippers gear because that's now America's team. Or maybe not. Just go to warroomsports.com and click on the Fanatics logo. Let's talk basketball, Daz.
Let's do this, girl. I'm tripping.
So, the first story, right, is I want to talk about, man. It's like a soap opera. Yo, shout out to Curtis Blow, and shout out to Run, who was like the son of Curtis Blow back in the day before he became DJ Run. Anyway.
In the game. Shout out to Mark.
Rest in peace, Mark. Yo, Mark Jackson was fired by the Golden State Warriors after leading them to the playoffs in 2 consecutive years when the team had made the playoffs like 17 years previous. So he's had success as a coach there, but they let him go. This is turning into a soap opera. According to some reports, Mark Jackson wore all black at the last game because he said he was going to get whacked, and that's what you're supposed to do when you get whacked.
Yeah, he's doing mob culture. At the games, yo.
He's bringing his mob culture to the games. There were reports that he didn't get along with management, obviously, and he locked Jerry West out of practice. And Jerry West is one of the guys over there making decisions. But Mark Jackson is gone, even with the success. How do you feel about his firing? Should he have gotten fired, or what's going on with the story, Dad?
Well, first of all, this was another one of those situations. It was kind of sensationalized because it was actually Mark Jackson. He got fired. Everybody kind of lost their minds. Same thing happened to Vinny Del Negro last year, and people were like, so? like, who cares? But,
but
of course, you look
Jackson,
at the success.
he's one of those guys, man.
Yeah, you look at the success, and your answer has to be, hell no, he shouldn't have been fired. But there was a lot of things going on behind the scenes that a lot of people may not have known about, and I'm pretty sure they're hearing about them now, with him being at odds with management and basically the owner the whole time he was there. They were saying Mark Jackson just wanted to do his thing, and he wasn't really on board with what anybody else thought outside of his team. Like, his team loved him, but management and the ownership just thought he was kind of rogue.
So he was like
my surprise. Yeah, my surprise is at the level of surprise that everybody else had when it happened, because you heard these stories before the playoff series was over, and you kind of maybe even if you didn't know why, you knew that Mark Jackson's job was on the line. So I can understand people not feeling the fact that he got fired, but the surprise that kind of puzzled me a little bit because
no,
the
I
reports
agree,
were
I
out
remember,
there
I remember,
prior to.
I remember Chuck and Kenny even having a conversation about it during one of the games, like, you know, the rumors of Mark Jackson being let go if they lost a series.
Right.
And
at the end of the day, he
alienated a lot of his coaches. Remember, he fired the one guy who was recording conversations, Scalabrini. He had a problem with Scalabrini. So, yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on that we don't really have all of the info on. But he was successful.
When it comes to sports, right, it's still a business. At the end of the day, so you have to understand that it's not just about X's and O's, not just about basketball or football or the game itself. You still have to get along with people. And it seems that he didn't. Not saying that he should have been fired because you're supposed to win games. That's the number one. That's the number one rule. You got to win. You got to be successful, and he had that. But if you're butting heads with someone who owns the team and has the power, you know, we feel at times that players have power and coaches have power, and they do to a certain extent, but it's not real power. You know, they're not the real ballers. Shout out to B.D. Lewis, Dr. Lewis. They're not the real ballers. But so now you know where the power lies.
Here's something that I heard could be a factor. Because I don't know if you remember, but, you know, we reported this a couple of years ago that the president of basketball operations or whatever his title is within that organization is an openly gay man. And when the whole Jason Collins thing was hot in the news, Mark Jackson said something that they thought may have upset dude. You know, he said, you know, Jason Collins is cool, this and that, but he left it out there and said, but I know right from wrong. And Mark Jackson is a devout Christian, so, you know,
Mark
basically
Jackson,
everybody took that to mean that homosexuality was wrong. His boss is a homosexual, so a lot of people thought his job was, like, in jeopardy from that moment on.
Yeah, I think it could be personal. Because I know that he made news as being the first openly gay person in terms of the executive position in the NBA.
Right.
And Mark Jackson is like, you know, Christian times 10. I think, like, he got Jesus' cell phone number. Like, he's that guy. So I can see them butting heads, you know, because of that. But sometimes you got to put your personal feelings aside for the success of the team if that's what it's about. You know what I mean? Because the team was moving in the right direction, and let's be honest, when you look at their roster, they overachieved.
Yeah.
Especially with the injuries
think about it.
With the injuries they had.
We could talk about professionalism and what's best for the organization, but you still have to put yourself in other people's shoes. Now, you know, and I know your thoughts on this because we've actually talked to Sid Ziegler from Outsports about this on air and privately in a bar. We know how a lot of people in the gay and lesbian community kind of try to equate their struggle and their movement to the civil rights movement. Now, I understand how strongly they feel about what they're going through. I don't necessarily believe that it's equal to being discriminated against because of the way you were born and the color of your skin. But at the same time, like you said, we've had conversations and we know how serious this is to them. So it could be looked at in the same way as if, you know,
so basically,
a white coach may have said
he's saying
something.
Mark Jackson is Donald Sterling, then basically.
Yeah, if a white coach would have said something along the lines of Donald Sterling, and you're sitting there, you're a black GM or president, and it offends you, like, you may have to do something about it. So
but see, now the thing is, though, I guess only time will tell what happens to the organization from here, because his players loved him, right? We all know that.
Yeah.
Who are you going to bring in to replace him? So if they take a step backwards next year, the organization is going to look foolish, you know? So I just want to see what happens. I think that he'll be fine because he's one of those guys who has love throughout the entire league from everybody. And he has a great reputation, you know. So we'll see what happens. But now, when they put these stories out here about, you know, him being rebellious to the organization, as an owner, you may have to look at that like, I don't want this guy because he's not going to listen. So, you know, you never know. You never know. Maybe he'll go back to the booth. He was good there, too. So,
yeah, he was really good in the
Jackson,
booth.
Man.
But there's another job
Absolutely.
opening that people want to link his name to.
The Knicks are looking for a coach, and Mark Jackson made his name with the Knickerbockers. He's a New York guy. So we'll see what happens. Do you think he should go there, or do you think Phil will give him a shot?
I mean, from all accounts, it seems like it's Steve Kerr's job to turn down. I don't understand why, but when you think about it, you could understand why, because Phil probably wants a puppet.
That's his
and
guy.
He gets one of his guys.
He's going to run Phil's system.
Yeah, he gets one of these guys from one of his championship runs, and he can basically call the shots from up top, and Steve Kerr would, be his Pinocchio.
But here's what I heard. I heard now that Golden State opened up, they want to offer Steve Kerr. And I'm like, how the hell did Steve Kerr out of the blue become like a hot commodity?
He's a hot
Phil
commodity,
Jackson thing.
Right.
But the thing
Lakers,
is, I guess
his name is even in the Lakers mix.
When you get the blessing from Phil, everybody else looks at you. It's like Phil's name holds that much weight. Like, I'm looking at
Phil,
Steve Kerr.
They Phil basically gave him the job. I didn't even know Steve Kerr wanted to coach until Phil said his name.
Exactly.
I didn't know he was interested in coaching.
Here's the thing. They're talking about him possibly being offered the job at Golden State. When you look at the rosters of Golden State versus the Knicks, and I know that Phil is your man, but from a roster standpoint, But then again, you're talking about playing out west, where this team won 50 games, and if they would have won 50 games in the East, like what seed would they have been?
Yeah, that's another thought. That's another thought that has to run through your mind when you're contemplating these gigs. Like, I don't have to be that great of a coach to win 50 games in the East, so I might want to go over there and get my name.
They were
get it
a
up real quick.
Seed. They were a 6th seed.
At 50.
Atlanta was an 8th seed. They didn't even have a winning record.
They had like 38.
Yeah, man. Yeah, come on, man. So, I mean, that's something to think about, too. But we'll see what happens with
And they were an 8th seed that took the 1 seed to 7 games. Atlanta was not taking the Spurs to 7 games. I don't care what anybody says. Dallas is a whole different beast than Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta's soft, dude. But
y'all acting like Atlanta ain't America.
Anyway, the Lakers also are searching for a coach. I've heard a lot of rumors. I heard they reached out to Kevin Ollie, the national champion. Kevin Ollie is being talked to. Kevin Ollie is like overachieving in life.
I swear that every league on every level, it's like it seems like they drink the Kool-Aid just as badly as fans sometimes. I'm not saying that these guys aren't capable, but damn, really?
That's all it takes,
quickly?
Man. That's all it takes.
These dudes are in this mix. I mean, in the Lakers, they're even. I don't know if the Lakers are talking about it, but there's a lot of pundits out there saying, well, with the success Jason Kidd had this season, if Derek Fisher wants to step off the court right onto the bench, the Lakers might want to take a flyer on that and this and that.
I heard that too.
Wow.
I heard that Derek Fisher is already making plans,
Remember we used to say that about Mark Jackson when his name was hot and he never coached before. He was just in the booth, and I'm like, why the hell are people sweating Mark Jackson as if he proved something? Now you don't even have to prove something. You just step off the bench. Off the court, onto the bench.
That's the thing, man. These guys are lifers at this point, man. They, and it's funny when you look at guys rest in peace, Dr. Jack Ramsey. But when you look at guys like Jack Ramsey, Eddie Brown, these guys have been within the community of the NBA for years and years. So it's like, that's really a community. The NBA is really a community, and once you get ingrained in that community and people like you, it's nothing more than your reputation. Once you get a good reputation, you get to go from job to job. People do it all the time. How many jobs has PJ Carlissimo had? How many jobs has done? How many times has Mike Dunleavy Sr. had a job? You know what I mean? Once you get ingrained in that community and people have any sort of affection for you, you'll always work. So we'll see what happens, man. But the Lakers looking for a coach, Knicks looking for a coach, and that's interesting because they're two of the more storied franchises, although the Knicks don't belong in that discussion, but they're still the Knicks, so they're overrated by being in New York, but that's a whole other thing. So we'll see what happens, man. Let's get your thoughts on some of these awards given out. The Rookie of the Year, Sixers, Michael Carter-Williams. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, and here, that's pretty much who we all chose to get it, so it's not surprising at all. You hear some people out there want to say something about the team he played on, but most rookies of the year play on bad teams because they were early picks. It happens like that most of the time. So he went out there and basically showed he showed us way more than we thought he had. Even the few of us on Court Vision who said in the beginning of the season that he would be a very good pick for the Sixers. I don't think any of us expected him to be what he was this season, but it just proves the old adage of what we always talk about. The NBA and the college game they're just two different monsters, especially when you're coming from a Syracuse where the coach is old school and he kind of keeps you in a structured system. It's like a guy who might go to Temple, some years back and play for John Chaney, and you don't really get to see what he does because everything they do is slowed down and,
Yeah, we always
you got to get this many passes off and the defense is structured, and then they come to the league and explode like Eddie Jones. So
yeah. Now, let me ask you a question.
Definitely was my pick.
Going back to our last little topic. Someone in the chat room, they said that the Knicks have a better chance keeping Melo by hiring Mark Jackson as opposed to Steve Kerr. Do you agree with that?
I don't really know if the coach is even going to be that important to Melo at this point, because it seemed like once Phil got there, he was all excited to learn at the feet of the Zen Master. So I don't even know if it will be between the coaches, truthfully.
Okay. All right, no doubt. Just wanted to ask you that real quick, man. And congrats to Michael Carter-Williams. You pretty much said everything I was going to say, so let's move on to the most valuable player, Kevin Durant.
Well, another one got announced while we were Quick Curl. Another one got announced, before, sometime during the afternoon. Jamal Crawford won the sixth man for the second time.
I know.
So
shout out to B. Austin.
Give him a shout out. He was my pick as well. 18.6 points off the bench. That's kind of hard to argue with. Shout out to Taj Gibson, who got second place on that. I just wanted to get that out of the way before we talked about the big award. So
yeah, no doubt.
Shout out
to Jamal Crawford, man. He's one of the best six men we've seen in the recent history. Kevin Durant won Most Valuable Player, a.k.a. Quick Curls. That's what B also nicknamed him. That's because we say that Kevin Durant's hair is so peasy, right, that even if he brushes his hair, he got them quick curls. They come right back. And if you watch the OKC game, you know exactly who we're talking about. Him and Reggie Jackson, man. It's like the team Quick Curls. Anyway.
Man, quick curl, man. Yo.
Kevin Durant won MVP and gave a speech, yo. I ain't going to lie, that joint had me looking at the ceiling because somebody was cutting onions, man. So shout out to Kevin Durant. Did you watch the speech, man? What you think about it?
I watched the speech, actually, because I didn't see it live. I saw it after you told me to go watch it when you sent it to me. And I was upset with you like 20 minutes later. First of all, the speech was long as hell. But, the speech definitely, I don't care how manly of a man you are, it probably had you looking up, checking the paint on your ceiling to make sure there was no chips. I thought it was a very moving speech because, first of all, it was long, but it was long for a reason. He took the time to go down, because, a lot of people say, well, this MVP award, it wasn't just me, it was my teammates, but he actually took the time to go down the line, teammate by teammate, and telling you why he's close to that teammate or why he appreciates that teammate. And then when he got down to the end and got to his mom and said the stuff he said about his mom and how he grew up, come on, man. Come on.
Yo, here's what's crazy,
I'm
man.
Come on, man. I've seen some dudes win awards and say touching stuff about their moms. Allen Iverson, LeBron James, a lot of the guys who grew up in quote-unquote rough circumstances. But this one, come on, man.
Yo, man, that's one of the best award speeches I've ever seen at any level, at anything, whether it be like an Academy Award, a Grammy, or anything. It was moving, and I think it was.
Would you say he was you said he was the anti-Michael Jordan?
Yeah, anti-Michael Jordan, because I've never seen an MVP show that kind of humility. When you're kind of being awarded, and it's funny though because LeBron has so many sycophants that I was on Google Plus and somebody was arguing with me. They said, well, this is no different than LeBron's speech. What's the big deal? Everybody making a big deal out of nothing. I'm like, why are you making
competitive about his speeches, man?
They're competitive about speeches now? Like, that's where we at? He like, Derrick Rose did one too. I'm like, nah, man, this is a little different. He took the time to literally talk about each individual teammate and what they meant to him, and I also think it was done because of the run they're in now. Like, he tried to motivate his team, and I think he's done so.
Exactly.
It's a well-deserved award, man. He had an amazing season. Do I think he's the best player in the league right now? No, I still think LeBron is the best player, but Kevin Durant has had the best season. Let's not get it twisted. So
I think you just made the most important point of this whole thing, because I agree with you 100% that doing what he did during that speech, it was a leadership move. It was touching and all that, but it was definitely a leadership move because they struggled with the Grizzlies. They were down 0-1 to the Clippers at the time. I agree with you wholeheartedly because he even went down to the rookies and the young guys on the team just to make sure that very next game, which was later on that day, that he would get their very best. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe it was the day before.
Man. We got some crazy people, man. At KCMac38 on Twitter said Katie's mom looks like Loretta Devine. So I'm laughing at that, man. But,
yo. Nah, but
that was
definitely hot.
Yeah, no doubt. So shout out to Kevin Durant. You know,
and it worked too.
Won another
came
award.
out and whooped the Clippers' ass the next day. So
yeah, definitely did. And Kevin Durant got.
I think he's gonna have to do it again before next game. He got to do it again.
Pretty much. Pretty soon.
Let me make one more point, Jim.
Go ahead.
Let me make one more point. It's going to set a precedent, though. You know how when the Patriots came out
think about
the
that.
Super Bowl and the whole team ran out instead of them getting the offense or defense announced?
I didn't even think about that,
Watch.
man.
It's going to set a precedent. Now everybody who wins MVP.
Next year when Swaggy P win, he's going to draw.
Swaggy ain't going to thank no. He going to thank
like
strip club. Yeah, he's going to thank the strip club. I guarantee you if LeBron wins the MVP next year, we know LeBron has a propensity to kind of be a copycat. You know he's going down the line next year.
Yo, by the way, the greatest award speech I ever seen in my life has to go to Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson won an Academy Award, and he walked on stage and was like, I want to thank Miles Davis, and walked off. Now, it's the most amazing thing ever because it literally was 10 seconds. Miles Davis had nothing to do with nothing. I don't know to this day why he thanked Miles Davis. It must have been what he was like listening to on the way to the awards. But he had his glasses on, you know how Jack's so cool. He just walked up, thanks Miles Davis, and walked off. That was the greatest thing ever.
I'm telling you, LeBron gonna go up next year when he wins his fifth,
draw
or however many, and do all his teammates, and then at the end.
Roll it up, you know we got it.
Yo, he got no bars. Yo, KD can rap better than LeBron too, yo. That's just side note. Yo, what else? Cause you know we got it. Anyway, man, let's move on, man. We have a draft expert coming on in a couple minutes. Fred Perdue from Heavy in the Games. This guy studies college football unlike any other. The War Room has two draft experts at Brandon on Sports and, Fred Perdue at F Purdue Sports. But Fred Perdue will be on with us in a couple minutes. Before we get him on,
check out that field vision, man. That last field vision.
Yeah, check out the field vision. Brandon literally broke down the entire first round and gave an analysis on each player. So, but we'll get Fred Perdue to get his opinion in a couple seconds. But before we do, real quick, Dev, let's talk about what's going on with these current series in the NBA, man. The second round matchups. We got the Wizards tied with the Pacers at 1-1. What's your thoughts on the series so far?
It's been a good series so far. The Wizards are still playing at a pretty high level. I think they could have actually stolen game 2 if it not for a lot of bad shots, not just the shots late. Now, because you can't criticize a lot that John Wall has done during this playoff run because he hasn't shot well, but he's done everything else well. But he took 2 bad shots late. But even before that, I live tweet through the games, and I was telling people how early in the game the Wizards were launching a lot of threes, and they were still in the game because Indiana couldn't score, but the Wizards kept launching bad shots when they could have been taking this team to the hole and abusing them and getting a bigger lead. Throughout it all,
Let me ask you a question.
Went into the halftime with a 2-point lead, but I think that lead could have been better if their shot selection was a little bit better.
Let me ask you a question, because I know a lot of times we talk sports, whether it be NFL, NBA, people try to make it ultra simplistic and say this team is better because of X, Y, Z, or they try to just point to stats. But a lot of times there are nuances and things in the games that can literally determine the game, and there's no way to quantify it. And one thing I was thinking about, the way the Pacers play defense, like do they force you to shoot a bunch of threes in the way they play defense? And I say that because the Hawks just launched so many threes during that series. And I think the last game they had like 40-something threes. Like, it only scored like 80 points, won like 43 three-pointers. Is this something about the way they play defense?
I think it just might be more coincidence. I mean, Atlanta, that's just what they do.
Do you think it's immature teams, or do you think that they give the open three intentionally? Like, do you think it's the way they play defense, or is it just immature teams?
Now that you said it that way, that, giving it, that could have been, that could have a lot to do with it, especially against a team like Atlanta who wants to shoot the three anyway. So if you bait them into it, it's not going to be that difficult. But I just think when I tweeted about it, I think I had come to the conclusion that Washington could get better shots. So I don't think the defense was forcing them to do it. I just think they were so hyped about getting a knockout blow since they already had a 1-0 lead in the series on the road. I think they were just so hyped to get the knockout blow that they were just trying to kill the Pacers. And they were playing pretty good D because the Pacers couldn't score, but they weren't making any ground on these guys because they kept coming down taking bad shots. I mean, they made a lot of bad shots as well. And, a lot of people ignore bad shots when they go in, but it's one of those things that you can't depend on.
Are you still holding to your picking the Pacers after watching them play a couple games?
Yeah, I picked the Pacers in 6. It might be difficult to go in 6 since they did lose game 1. But, I no longer think, like we did early in the season, that the Pacers were going to be this ultra-serious contender for the Miami Heat, but I still think the Pacers, in this Eastern Conference are still the second-best team and will make it to the conference finals. Washington is playing very well now, and, I hope they can do something. But
yeah, in terms of the picks, I picked Washington in the series just because, the Pacers, even in that win yesterday, really didn't impress me. It's sort of like they were forcing
they haven't impressed me in any of their wins this
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In any of their wins. So, I still, but again, Washington's a young team who may have to go through growing pains. We don't know. But it's interesting to see where this series will go. And I'm going to pay attention to that because I'm like, I really didn't pay that much attention to the statistics in the regular season in terms of teams shooting threes against them. But I was wondering, watching this game, I'm like, is it a coincidence that everybody's just jacking up threes on the Pacers, or is that what they want you to do? Is that how their defense is set up?
Yeah.
So I'll pay attention
because
to
you
that.
said it, though, it's going to make me look for that next game. But Roy Hibbert, his emergence, people thinking, Andrew Bynum just got released from the team for the, and all of a sudden Roy Hibbert is the man. Earlier in the day, people were actually calling him a piece of feces on the internet, and then he comes out and tells everybody, F y'all. And,
but my thing is this, though, why are they forcing him to ball like he ever had post moves? His strength was being a defender, someone who changed shots and, grabbing rebounds. I was more disappointed in his rebounds, to be honest with you, than his points. Because, they never have ever relied on you to get points. But you're supposed to you can't be 7-2 and get 0 rebounds. How is that even possible?
Yeah, you could trip into a couple rebounds when you're 7-2. But last night, 28 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 blocks.
Yeah,
he had a good game, but like you said, forcing it into the. I actually thought that was going to backfire on him. Even if he had a good game, I'm still I was asking why are they going to just force it to Hibbert like he's Shaq or somebody down there? Okay, he's going to get you some stuff, but you don't have to try to get Roy Hibbert to put the game on his back. I don't think.
Yeah,
that's
they was tripping. I don't know what's going on
success.
with the Pacers, and I don't know what's going on with their coach either, because I've always looked at him as being a good coach, but I'm starting to question that, man. Anyway, next series, the Brooklyn Nets. I still feel funny saying that. The Brooklyn Nets trail Miami. Miami's up 1-0 in that series. What do you think about that?
I think the Brooklyn Nets going to get their ass kicked.
Yo, I still don't even think the Heat have put the gas on yet. They're cruising through the playoffs right now, man.
And smashed them in game 1. I think the Heat, because people are going to keep throwing it out there. They were 4-0 against the Heat in the regular season. The Heat don't give a damn about that. This isn't the regular season. So the switch has been turned on because they look at Brooklyn as a potential threat if they tried to coast. So they're going to turn the switch on for this series. And
it's funny to watch a player grow. I mean, we've watched LeBron from Cleveland, come in the league, and And I used to say this back in the day, like, yo, dude goes too hard, and like he's played every game like it's his last. There's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like they finally realized, like, yo, the regular season is kind of irrelevant to us because we're that good. Like, as long as we get, one of the top 3 seeds, we're fine.
Top 3 seeds, yeah, they're good.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, they don't need to be the number 1 seed and go all out and get, banged up on the regular season. So they're on cruise control. I agree with you. I think they're going to, kick Brooklyn's ass. Let's move on to the Western Conference. We have 2 series going on over there.
I know people are mad because we haven't really talked about the Heat in 3 weeks because it's nothing to talk about.
Yo, what is there to talk about? They're on cruise. Yo, it's nothing to say. Word to Smokey Robinson. Yo, they on cruise, man. Baby, let's cruise. Anyway, the Western Conference, Portland Trail Blazers and the Spurs. Spurs are up 1-0 in that series. Is that shocking to you, or what do you think? Do you think that Portland can bounce back and get the next game?
Not shocking at all. First of all, shout out to Damian Lillard on how he ended that last series. Woo!
Yeah.
I'm not shocked at all because I compared this team to the Pacers team in the first round, and that's why I keep telling you, like, Dallas is a much better team than Atlanta. So I still look at the Pacers being in more trouble than I look at the Spurs because of their first-round struggles. But unlike the Pacers, who I still think are a little bit vulnerable and could lose to Washington, I think the Dallas Mavericks woke the San Antonio Spurs up. I think they woke up a sleeping giant, and even though Portland is one of my favorite teams in the NBA to watch, I don't think they're ready for this, So I still think they could possibly take it like 6, but I don't think they're ready for the Spurs. Not quite.
I think Portland is growing as a team, and this is just another step in their process. As teams fall off and get older, they'll be competitive if they can keep that talent together. But I don't think they're ready to make the next step yet. One thing I do want to say about this is real quick is that Tony Parker, I watch a lot of guards play. I watch Bubba Chuck play. I watch Isaiah Thomas play. I watch Nick Van Exel play. I watch Sadell Threet play. Yes, I did say Sadell Threet.
Sadell Threet.
Yeah, Sadell Threet. But I've never seen a little guard get that many points in the paint. Like, dude's ability to get in the paint is second to nobody. Like, I've never seen a guard. Like, my man dominates the paint, and he's like 5'1". Like, who does that? He gets more points in the paint than most big men. Like, he really does. Like, it's crazy how he gets in the paint and causes havoc. But, shout out to Tony Parker, man. I just wanted to say that, man.
Still quick as hell. He don't look it, but he's still quick as hell.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. And last series before we get to this draft, man, America's team, the Clippers, they're tied with OKC Thunder, who I'm rooting for now after watching that speech. The Thunder bounced back last night.
All I got to say is the speech.
Russell Westbrook, or as Magic calls him, Bustle Bestbrook, got off, did his thing. Kevin Durant did his thing as usual. I thought this would be a 7-game series, but I actually picked the Clippers to win. But that was before I heard the speech. What do you think about the series?
Go 7. It definitely can still go 7. I picked the Thunder to win it. I think, we keep saying that in jest, but I really do give, Kevin Durant a nod for leadership. And it's difficult to talk about leadership. I try to stay away from that because it's subjective. Like, you can't really quantify leadership. But that speech, like, if I'm on that team and I'm just, some role player, some garbage dude, like, that's going to fire me up a little bit because the MVP did just take time to acknowledge me. So, I think if they can, keep that momentum, even though they got to go to Sterling's house and play a couple.
The house of Sterling. They should play that speech in the locker room before every game, man. Like,
exactly.
I noticed like, the next game after the speech, like, Hashim Samsheet, he was cheering extra hard. Like, he stepped his chair up. So it fired everybody up.
So it fired everybody up, and he's just a lowly bench warmer.
But he was clapping extra hard in game 2.
Yeah, so I think, and shout out to Russell Westbrook, because he came out and played very well, shot the ball very well, had a triple-double, which might get snatched away because that last assist was real bogus, and the league might take that from him. But, we got to rush through this, though, because the draft does start.
Yeah, no doubt.
And in a little over 20 minutes.
If the league could take my man's franchise, they could take that assist back. Anyway, man,
just
let's
check out
move on.
Court Vision on WarRoomSportsTV.com, everybody. Just check out Court Vision, and, you can get everything about the NBA playoffs on there.
Let's get our expert on the line, Dev, shall we?
All righty. Let's get Fred Perdue on the line real quick. I'll do this real quick because we got to pay our bills. NFL Rap is brought to you by Stitcher Smart Radio. You can now hear our show on Stitcher Smart Radio. Downloading is easy. Just click on the Stitcher logo on our website. You can listen from there, or you can download it to your mobile phone directly from that page. Before you do, make sure you enter the promo code The War Room, all one word, for a chance to win a cash prize. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio. So we have on the line with us, you guys have heard him all throughout the NFL season. He comes on in college season and drops some college jewels on everybody. And we got him here. He studied these guys for the whole season, and he knows what's going on tonight and who may go where and what teams need what. We got Fred Perdue of HeavyInTheGames.com. Fred, what's going on, brother?
How you guys doing? Long time no speak.
We are good.
Yeah,
I know
man.
this is
your
time,
man.
This is your time to shine. But Fred, he went underground on his G.I. Joe draft mission, and we see some writings from him here and there. But this is your night to shine, man. It all
Definitely.
comes to the culmination of all your hard work, all your scouting, all your film work. It comes out tonight. Real quick, news in the NFL. Of course, we know Richard Sherman got that big new deal that makes him the highest paid corner in the league. Before we get to the draft, you don't have to say much. Just tell us deserved or undeserved. $40 million guaranteed.
Deserved. As much as I don't like the antics, the guy backs up all his talk.
Right.
Clearly, he's the best corner in the NFL, and it hurts my heart to say that because I'm a Darrelle Revis guy, even before he became a New England Patriot. But Richard Sherman has really earned his keep. 8 interceptions this year, 25 interceptions over the last 2 years. You can't really deny that. And at the end of the day, and he may not even be the best defensive back on his team, and that is. I'm a believer that Earl Thomas, the free safety on that team, is probably better, a little bit better and more. He may be that guy that puts that whole defense together. But when you have a shutdown corner and he is what you need to really defend these players in this NFL now, when you have receivers getting bigger and bigger, you have a guy that's a converted receiver, playing corner, big, fast, and really he backs it up. And without him making that big-time play in the NFC title game against the 49ers, they don't talk about a Super Bowl in Seattle. So that $40 million guaranteed is big time for him.
All right, no doubt. So, NFL draft in a few minutes. We're just going to talk about some of the big names, some of the popular names that we've talked about, but we're also going to talk about the needs of some of the teams in the top 10 of the draft. So we can kind of mash and mix that conversation all up into one. We all know the name at the top of the draft. We've heard some rumblings of the Texans maybe trading out of the pick. What do you think they're going to do? You think they're just going to go Jadeveon Clowney, or do you think the Texans could possibly trade out of this pick?
Well, I heard a couple things going into this. You've heard Ryan Mallett's name being moved from the New England Patriots, possibly being a pick later on from the Texans. They could possibly move out of that first pick. They need a quarterback. At the end of the day, this team needs a quarterback. But I think Blake Bortles, I don't think they'll ever pull the trigger on him. Blake Bortles needs to sit. And if you go as the number 1 overall pick, that is just not going to happen. He's going to have to play early and often. Johnny Manziel, I don't think he's Bill O'Brien's type of quarterback. If you go back and look at the guys Bill O'Brien has had, he's always had that pocket passer, that almost like a statue in the pocket. Tom Brady, Christian Hackenberg, who maybe, if he decides to come out next year from Penn State, is another 6'5" guy, 230-pound guy. He's not going anywhere, but he'll throw darts all day long.
So
Johnny
is
Manziel
this a situation? Right. Is this a situation where, the Texans have the first pick. Their biggest need is quarterback, but there aren't any quarterbacks in this draft who has a grade high enough to go the very first pick of the draft. So is that the situation? Like, we don't want to take somebody in a spot where we don't have to take him. So if we can trade out of this pick, and move back a little bit, we can get a guy that maybe we want, but we can get him at a more sensible spot. You think that's their thinking?
Pretty much. When you have a guy that is generational, a Jadeveon Clowney type of player, 6'5", 260, 270, with the athleticism, the freakish athleticism that he has, you kind of have to take a guy like that, simply for the fact that if you don't, and he comes around and let's just say the Jaguars pick him up at number 3, you really have you have to go against that for the next 10 years, and you don't really want to have to deal with that. The Texans, they have a pretty decent set of players, and if you put him on that same defensive line with J.J. Watt, that is a very, very tough combination to stop in a division where
take
you're
pressure off of each other.
Definitely, and when you're in a division trying to chase Andrew Luck and the Colts right now, that is something that can help neutralize him. And to talk about the 3-4 defenses and how he may not fit, Jadeveon Clowney's never dropping back in coverage. He will more than likely never drop back. The way Romeo Crennel runs his 3-4 defense is more of a hybrid 3-4. They mix a little 4-3 in there, and he'll always be with his hand in the dirt. So I'm not really worried about that. I'm not worried about the work ethic stuff. I'm not worried about any of that. The thing I'm worried about with him is more so the traffic, the speeding tickets. The guy has to mature, and that'll come with time. But as far as him being a football player, I'm not worried about Jadeveon Clowney, and I think he will.
So you think basically he's a can't miss prospect. I mean, at the end of the day, we never know until they get on the field, because we've seen some so-called can't miss prospects who end up being misses. But he's one of those guys. So you're saying that you can't afford to take the chance to miss him because his ceiling is that high.
Definitely, and also with that, with the sense of having a guy, like I said, you have to chase Andrew Luck. You don't want you really don't have a quarterback graded out at a spot for that number 1 overall pick. Blake Bortles not really ready to be that starter. Derek Carr. We've always had that issue. David Carr, Derek Carr. Derek Carr right now.
Same dude.
Derek Carr, he's a good player, and Teddy Bridgewater also is a good player, but they're not number 1 overall material. Even with Teddy Bridgewater being the number 1 quarterback coming out, starting way back in the beginning of the season, he was still not much higher than maybe 15 to 19 in any draft order. It would have to be a miraculous thing for him to be a number 1 overall pick, and it wasn't because of his frame or could he throw the ball down the field, any of that. It was just he's not a can't-miss prospect. He's a good quarterback, not an elite prospect. And if you're not sure about a prospect at quarterback, you don't take him number 1, because that could set your franchise back a good deal.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you a question, Fred.
Because
you just brought up Bridgewater, right? And we know that Manziel's name is going to be talked about pretty much all night. And you talked about how Bridgewater was ranked the number 1 quarterback for a long time at this point. Enough time that now people are like moving him down the boards, and I've talked to you as well as our other draft expert, and both of you guys think that that's BS. But the question is this: is he still the number 1 quarterback right now? The draft is minutes from starting, half an hour from starting. So, is he still your number 1 guy at quarterback?
In my mind and on my board, yes, he is the number 1 overall quarterback, simply for the fact he's the most NFL ready. He's the polished product. Is he Andrew Luck? Probably not. Is he more along the lines of maybe a Matt Ryan type of quarterback on that level? Probably so, simply for the fact, like I said, he's running NFL offense. He has the ability to come in and start early. His frame isn't that much different than a Derek Carr. I still haven't understood where that comes from. The frame issue. He's 214 pounds. He's packed it on throughout the process, right. And if really the only thing that I have to ding him for throughout the process is he didn't really handle it well, from the pro day to the not throwing at the combine, all of that. But tape does not lie. And the tape tells me that Teddy Bridgewater is the most NFL-ready quarterback in this class right now.
Okay, cool. I have another question about another quarterback. But before we do, let's go to our phone lines briefly. And for those listening, we're talking with Fred Perdue from Heavy in the Games. He's an NFL draft expert. He's breaking down this draft getting ready to start soon. But let's go to the phone lines real quick. We got Phil from Tissue and the Tape. What's up, Phil?
What up, baby? What's going on, man?
You.
Hey, now, how
What's
you?
going on?
You ready for this
Ain't
draft,
nothing,
man?
man.
We know you're a big-time 49ers fan.
Absolutely.
Well, so what do you think your team needs?
We need a wide receiver. We need a corner. I definitely think we're going to try to make moves to get up, in that top 10, top 15 to try to get one of those guys. Odell from LSU, he's looking good. I would love to get Sammy Watkins, but I don't think
everybody wants Sammy Watkins.
I was about to say everybody would.
To get Sammy Watkins.
You got to move too far to get that.
Hey, Phil, Fred, in your mock, Fred, who do you have the Niners going after in your mock?
In mine, I had Odell Beckham Jr. in the beginning going, but I think in the end they're going to end up going with a corner. The cornerback position is going to be very tough to go by, but a guy like Jason Verrett, or if they decide to move up, I don't project trades, but right now I can see them going after Odell Beckham Jr. But it's going to be tough because he's moving up forwards pretty quickly.
Yeah, and speaking of that, one other quick question that you just brought up. Bradley Roby. I've seen his name very high. I've seen his name fall in a lot of mock drafts. He's another cornerback out of Ohio State, and we know that the Niners are looking for a cornerback. What do you think about Bradley Roby, Fred?
I like Bradley Roby. This year he kind of dropped off a lot of off the field issues, but if all the off field issues are taken care of, as well as he can refocus his mind on only football, this guy's a top 10 type player. But again, you have to be able to get him focused. You have to get him in an organization that is going to keep him off the radar a little bit. Put him in a closet and just say, focus on football only and don't do anything else. If you get that,
I don't know about that. I don't know about that in San Fran. We see Alden Smith running buck wild. What I mean? What's good, Phil? What's up with Alden Smith out there, man? Like, what's going on, man?
And he just a young dude, man. He got that LT syndrome, man, and it's all good as long as he hits the quarterback, they'll make it work. And
no doubt.
But I did have a question for you guys. Who do you think is going to be like your sleeper, your fifth round, like Richard Sherman, or like Brady is the ultimate sleeper, but who do you guys foresee being in that kind of? I mean, I know it's kind of hard to project that.
I was going to say that's the hardest thing to project.
That's a definitely tough one. But I'm telling you who I want to be my sleeper, yo. And shout out to him. I'm looking for my man Trey Mason. Now I know this is not a running back league, and I'm not really a Trey Mason fan, but I'm a huge De La Soul fan, and that's my man Plus 3 son. So I'm going for my Trey Mason to be the sleeper of the draft, man. Trey Mason, man, going to the Broncos.
I do have a guy that I really
don't
like.
do that to him, yo.
I do
have Fred?
A guy out of Pittsburgh State, John Brown, really fast receiver, slot receiver type of guy. In this NFL now, you're going to get to a point where a receiver is going to be broken down into two positions: the slot receiver position and a simple wide receiver position. John Brown is probably going to be.
Now, is that you talking about Pitt, or you said Pittsburgh State? Is that a different school?
No, he said Pittsburgh State.
Yes, that's a lower division school right now. Yes, Pittsburgh State.
I had to make sure I heard him right. Like Pittsburgh State, where did you hear that?
Yes, Pittsburgh State.
Phil, this is Fred. This is draft expert. If he's the 600th ranked player in the country, Fred has studied his film. This is what he does.
Wow.
John Brown out of Pittsburgh State is going to be that guy that you're going to say, wow, I've never heard his name. But when you see him on film,
I'm from Pennsylvania.
Very, very rich with his routes.
Pittsburgh, like another place.
And he can be a guy, if you look at a team like the Bears who need another slot receiver and a kick returner, and they know what it's like to have a kick returner that's very electric in Devin Hester. That's the kind of guy that you're going to look for in the 4th or 5th round. Maybe a guy like a Dre Archer from Kent State. He's very similar to a guy like a Darren Sproles. Or the Anthony Thomas, guy like that, small, shifty receiver. He ran a 4.2 at the combine. That's a guy that you're going to want to look out for. Okay. But Dre Archer might be shooting at boards at this point. So
actually, Fred, now we actually do know Dre Archer because his dad actually came to our Facebook page and asked us to, help promote him and put his highlights out there and stuff. So yeah, he does look, like he could be a
he's
dangerous
a friend to the room.
sleeper
But
in the draft.
Fred, real quick, give me your thoughts on Trey Mason, man. This is a personal thing for me, man.
Trey Mason, I really like. I see him being the Ray Rice type.
Hitting on women?
No, Trey Mason is that guy that I really like his speed, and I like it. He has a little power to him. He's gonna be that running back, that third down running back, a Darren Sproles type, a Ray Rice type that can do a little bit of everything. He can catch the ball out of the backfield, and if he goes to a team that kind of likes to spread the ball out a little bit, that's what's going to make his value go up a lot more than many can expect. And as well as the question that you asked me previously about the San Francisco 49ers and on my mock draft, I have them taking Marquise Lee at the end of the first round.
Okay, Marquise Lee. Phil, man, thanks for the call. Everybody check out Phil or Tissue in the Tape. He has a podcast on WRSPN.com. So you'll definitely see his work posted all on our
you're a
social media
head.
pages.
You love what they're doing over there in Tissue in the Tape.
Absolutely. And Phil, we'll talk more on the draft,
you.
man, once you guys make your pick, man. So thanks for the call, good brother.
Oh, no doubt, man.
All right, take it easy.
All right. So real quick, because we got about 5-6 minutes left, I wanted to talk about these two teams in the first round that have 2 picks. St. Louis at 2-13, and then you got Cleveland at 4-26. Now, kind of like what we spoke about earlier, a lot of people, including myself, I was kind of figuring the quarterbacks, there may not be somebody that you want to take that early. So I'm thinking both of these teams may gamble on another position with the early picks and then try to get a quarterback later in the round. Is that what you see from these guys, or do you think they're going to, one of them might snatch a quarterback up early? We've heard St. Louis. We've heard rumblings of, them maybe shopping Bradford. Of course, they came out and said it wasn't true. They started to say how much they like Johnny Manziel. We're not sure if they're just doing that to try to get interest to its highest point with Manziel so somebody else can maybe try to trade up and get him. What do you see these two teams doing with these 2 picks?
St. Louis is they're in a perfect spot right now. They've drafted really well, and these are the last 2 picks. The pick at 13 is the last pick from the RG3 trade. And what I've seen from St. Louis, they picked up a couple guys. They picked up Alec Ogletree, picked up a couple guys like that. And when you see the talent that they're putting around Sam Bradford, you've gotten Tavon Austin, you've gotten Stedman Bailey, you've gotten Brian Quick, but he didn't really work out. I can see them holding on to Bradford for one more year, especially in a class of quarterbacks that's not all that great. Get more guys on the offensive side, because the defensive side of the ball has been taken care of. And Jeff Fisher has never really had a quarterback that he can truly call his. If you look back to the Tennessee
What about Aaron McNair, man?
Okay, yes. Aaron McNair, yes. As far as with his return to St. Louis, as well as with Vince Young. Vince Young, he didn't really want to be tied to him. Sam Bradford, he's not really the guy he wanted either. But when you surround Sam Bradford with weapons, and Sam Bradford hasn't been terrible. He's been injured.
He hasn't been terrible. He's a great check-down quarterback, but he can go a long way doing that.
Sam Bradford isn't a terrible quarterback, but when you're injured throughout your whole career, going back even to Oklahoma, that's a problem. And I think they're going to give him one more year, and they'll just surround him with a lot of weapons and hope things work out. I think they're going to end up taking on offensive linemen they need to. Protecting your quarterback is the biggest thing in giving him weapons. That's why if you look at throughout time, look at guys like David Carr, hit the first overall pick of the Texans a long time ago. They didn't give him weapons. They wanted to draft guys like Mario Williams, D'Amico Ryans, instead of taking guys like Reggie Bush and helping his offense out. The guys that are successful, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, all of those guys have weapons, and their teams continue to draft those weapons for them.
Except for Tom Brady. But listen, though, you made a lot of great points because St. Louis has done well with those picks and everything they have. The quick question I have is almost time to get out of here. Has St. Louis gotten over it with the best of that deal with Washington, or is Washington still sitting better with RG3?
I think St. Louis actually made out with that deal, seeing as with RG3, he's been injured basically his whole career. He's had to limp his way through his career already. St. Louis you'll never get true value for a top pick like that, but when you have the right pieces coming in, and if you can get that one quarterback, that is the difference in between being a good team and a great team. Sam Bradford has been hurt. You have Clemens coming in. He's not really doing all you need for him. They bring in guys like Tavon Austin who can do it all. If you can get him a left tackle, you can get a quarterback in there. If Sam Bradford doesn't work out, you still have guys like Janoris Jenkins. You have guys like Zach Stacy coming in. You have other guys on the defensive side. Robert Quinn has been a great player. You have a nucleus of players that can be great for that team.
All right.
And
if I hear the mighty Quinn one more time,
let me ask you the last question, and just give us a one-word answer. Where does Johnny Manziel go?
Wow, that's a tough one.
If you had to
Johnny
guess
Manziel
right now on the hot seat.
One word: falling.
Second round? First round?
He said falling.
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 Alicia Keys.
Cool.
All right, man. Let's get out of here, man. Thanks everybody for joining us in the War Room. A special thanks to Fred Perdue. At F Purdue Sports on Twitter. We got to definitely thank him for breaking down this draft for us. Tune in next week, same time, same place, right here as you always catch us. And also WRSPN.com. Do not forget that. Next week we'll be discussing the state of youth sports in America and the effects it has on kids in lower income areas. So it's definitely a serious show we want you to pay attention to. We'll have a great lineup of special guests joining us for that very serious talk. So until then, enjoy the NFL draft, enjoy the NBA playoffs, enjoy your week, and don't forget, catch us right back here next week. Always, WarRoomSportsTV.com for the video content, WRSPN.com for the podcast, Facebook and Twitter at War Room Sports. And like we always say, don't accept mediocrity and be steadfast in the war against ignorance. We'll see you chumps on top.
200!
Jimmy, know the blueprint. Every Thursday, 6 to 8, they do this. Shout out to Dev, PJ, B. Austin, Bay on replay. WarRoomSports.com. Get that mobile app. If not, dial 323-140012. They be going and you sensitive, then oh well. Physical podcast, let's talk sports. Showtime like magic in the block push. Listen live, push one to join in. Rip your team or listen for your enjoyment. Hip hop dollars, pit stop and knowledge. Should be in sports credits, I ain't talking college. 5 guys, no beef though. Corporate secret, but the streets know. Belafonte, I got a G flow. KC, royalty, I'm in beast mode. 2 hours, get your game up. Who's the best in sportscast? You better name us. War Room Sports. Yeah, you know, Jimmy, Dad, TJ, Got Back, B. Austin. I'm shot. Up and coming on the beat.
War Room Sports, www.warroomsports.com. What? Ain't no more to it.